Hi everyone, NATO here. I am in downtown Manhattan. Actually, I'm just a little ways away from the World Trade Center. I'm actually at St. Paul's Chapel. It's the oldest chapel in Manhattan. This is actually the overflow for the original Trinity Church that was destroyed by fire. But this building served as the location that President Washington went to, actually the very first place he went to as president after his inauguration at Federal Hall for church services that day. So this building also predates the American Revolution. It's actually a really cool church. I really just can't get to it because it's closed, and I try not to film on areas like that because I just don't think it's right. Anyway, today is also Friday the 13th, for those of you that don't know, and I want to talk a little bit about the origins of the superstitious day and why it's bad. There's actually even an official phobia for it that I couldn't come close to pronouncing, so I'm going to spare you all. But the origin is really quite unknown. Luckily, there can't be any more than 3 of them in a year, but there will at least be one. Oddities are that the 13th of the month will land on a Friday more often than at any other time. So I found that to be kind of an odd statistic. But as far as the origins of it being a bad day, a lot of it has to do with just its location in the order of numbers. There's 12 months, 12 signs of the zodiac. There were 12 apostles. There were, this is 12, 12, 12, 12, 12 all the way down the line, where according to both Christian and Old Norse beliefs, the 13th person to the table, in Christian the Last Supper, and for the Norse the table for the gods at Valhalla, the 13th guest ended up being on the unlucky one. Judas was the 13th guest to the Last Supper, who we all know is the one who betrayed Jesus to the Romans. And then Loki, for those of you from the Marvel fandom, Loki was the 13th god to come into the dinner room for dinner with the Norse gods, and all crap broke loose, and the Earth went to darkness, and it was really, really bad. So shame on you, Loki, and shame on you, Judas. But anyway, the 13th and Friday have a couple of independent things other than the 13th guest. Friday was also the day that Jesus was crucified. Since no one was actually there, the calendars were done differently, so I mean, we think it was. I'm not going to say for sure that it was because I wasn't there. The dates like that get lost sometimes, so I'm not going to say that for sure it was a Friday, because calendars change, and I don't know if they just kept the calendar date or they actually traced it back and it would have really been on a Friday. Same with the one of the other origins of Friday the 13th was based on the fact that on a Friday the 13th, which was also would have been in the month of October, that a bunch of Christians were rounded up by the then pagan Roman Empire, rounded up, and then they were told to either convert to the Roman gods or be killed. And obviously we all know that they did not convert back to the Roman system, and they were killed. And that was in October. So that's one of the origins. Also with the unluckiness of the number itself, which in society, like the French society, there's a group called the 14ers, and it was a social group, and whenever they have parties, they would change the number of the guest to 14, so that no one had to deal with being the unlucky guest. Buildings in London, for example, when you go down the street and the building would have been dignified as building number 13, they changed it to 12 and a half, so that building wasn't associated with an unlucky number. Same with many hotels, there's no 13th floor, it skips the number. And it's just kind of a weird thing that we have with the number 13 in culture. It is predominantly a Western cultural thing. I haven't come across many things that make 13 an unlucky number in anything on the Eastern cultures, or really much of the Middle Eastern cultures. So, and don't forget that the Muslims do have a shared cultural identity with the New Testament. They believe that the Quran is just the third part of the Old Testament, New Testament, and then the Quran. So they would have had some of the same stigmas with the number 13. but from my talking with them, it doesn't seem to have held much in their culture. It only seems to be held mostly in the Western culture. In fact, it costs countries in the West, especially like the United States, a lot of money, like around $900 million. This is an older number to find, but it's a lot of money that people are too scared. There's actually an official phobia of the number 13, and people don't go out, and it's the Friday the 13th, just forget about it. But it costs the economy a lot of money because people just won't engage, they won't go out, they won't do anything on these days because of fear of being unlucky. So I thought these were interesting facts about the unluckiest of unlucky days. It is more bad if it's in October, but I think that's due to the whole Christians getting rounded up thing. But you know, in April was when Christ was, well, if you go back to the calendars, usually Good Friday lands in April. I don't think it's landed, it might land in March sometimes, but so the 13th does have the significance in spring as well. But I just thought the whole thing was quite interesting, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. Hope everyone's doing well. Until next time, peace out.